Well, good evening, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Lou Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great evening. Um, it seems like the Dallas Cowboys are definitely in on looking for a wide receiver. They're trying to cross their T's, dot their I's, and do their due diligence on trying to figure out who it is that they want to bring in. And it seems like the Amari Cooper is the fallback, and the guy that they figure we can definitely get him and would be okay with him. But it seems like they're exploring possibly some other ones. There's guys like Rashard Bateman. There's of course DJ Moore. I think the price is too high for Courtland Sutton. There's Pickett, with the Steelers. So they're looking around, and there may be others out there that we haven't even thought about that might be expendable because the team ended up drafting somebody, and they're looking at their numbers and saying, I got a young person here who's cheaper, and I can let go of this guy before they become a free agent and get some compensation for next year. And that's the thing that's great to do. We don't typically do that. We end up saying, no, we got to keep our own guys. And we basically run them to the point where we generally don't get much for them when they leave. Although, I guess in recent history, we've gotten a little bit of stuff because, you could say we had Jordan Lewis, who played really well for us last year, and we let him go. We get a comp pick, a fifth round for him. D-Law, who, has made a lot of money with us, has had some good seasons and things, and done a lot of good stuff for us. Hasn't helped us to get a Super Bowl, but he goes to Seattle when we get a fifth round pick. And you have to look at that and say, we're probably better off getting that fifth round pick and letting him go than repaying him a boatload of money and going young. We got Marshawn Nealon, who was supposed to be like him last year. And of course, we got Donovan EZ this year, who could be even better potentially. And so you look at that and say, yeah, let's see what we can get for that guy. But that's not what I really want to focus on tonight. We've had plenty enough talk about the wide receivers. Malik Davis got cut along with three other people. We don't know if they're trying to make some extra space because they pretty much filled out the roster for some other guys, maybe some more free agent signings. Or maybe they're going to be looking at a trade or signing one of these guys, because now signing comp picks won't cost you, signing free agents won't cost you comp picks. So we'll see, and I'm sure in the next couple of days there seems to be a sense of urgency with the Cowboys, which I'm glad that they finally have. But tonight, I'm going to go by my own experiences and relate it to the Dallas Cowboys. What I've always learned is you can't be stagnant, okay? No matter how big or how well you're doing, you always have to look over your shoulder for the competition. Because when you lose your innovation, when you lose the things that got you where you were, when what you do gets old, you get passed by. You can look at Tom Landry, for example. Tom Landry, who was the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, who decided we're going to get a mathematician from India to do calculations to set up a formula that we can input in a computer to help determine, using analytics, how good a college player could be. They ended up going places where other teams hadn't looked for football players, like a track star, like Bob Bullet Hayes. They tried and innovated new things like the flex defense, the shotgun, the shift. All of those things were things that helped them get an advantage. They got more talent from places where others weren't. They stayed ahead of the curve. They hit on their draftees better than other teams because of the computer. They gave the quarterback more time to pass using the shotgun. The problem for the Cowboys were America's team. is they were really, really good. And they figured we're always still really good. And they started getting old and they stopped innovating. And what happened was San Francisco came up in the rearview mirror and came up with the West Coast offense. Joe Gibbs, who came from Air Coryell, came to Washington and came up with the single back offense using an H-back, which is basically taking the fullback and making him kind of a tight end. Those were innovations. Those were people that learned what you did and figured ways of doing them better. And that's what I've learned as far as YouTube. Those of you who've been here since 2016, you've probably seen how this channel and myself have grown personally and changed how we do stuff. From being in front of that TV screen with a Dallas Cowboys lawn chair to building the lockers, the outdoor studio, the studio to watch the games, to the Red Brick House studio in here. I have tried to evolve to stay relevant, because if I'd still been sitting in front of that lawn chair in front of the TV that was working at that time, I probably wouldn't still be here and people watching. Bring back the Washington Commanders to the conversation, who at the moment have had internal discussions about possibly, for nostalgia's sake and for the fans, of bringing back the Redskins name. Different environment than it was when Dan Snyder was here. That team has made it a mission to change and evolve completely. They're going back to DC. I said when they moved out of DC, they'll never win a Super Bowl until they move back. Boy, I'm hoping I'm wrong. But now you see, not only are they building the stadium, now granted they're getting about $1 billion from DC, but they're going to be spending about $2.5 billion of their own money to build this thing. And buddy, this may make AT&T Stadium look like dog crap. And here's the thing that's actually amazing to me. This is where you know they are a totally different organization. Because currently, they're playing over in Landover, formerly known as Ralph John because of Cook. Jack Kent Cook wanted to call the area after his two kids, Ralph and John. Okay. And decided it was going to be Ralph John. That lasted for about 6 months. The new ownership group of the Commanders are going to take care of the cost of getting rid of the old stadium. Because they don't want it to be a blight on the community. They don't own that stadium. They have a lease agreement till 2027. They'll stay 2 more years till the new stadium is built and opening in 2030. But they're going to literally say, hey, community, we're not going to leave you here with this dump. We're going to remove it for you. And they're building a stadium that's going to be state of the art. They are innovating. They got Dan Quinn. Now we'll see if they can stay up on top this year. But see, this is one of those cases where when you don't change and evolve, you will die. The Dallas Cowboys, when they came out with their stadium, AT&T, and don't get me wrong, AT&T is still incredible. It's incredible. But you know, it doesn't have the same shine to me that it had when it first opened. I know when I go outside and I've got not one but 2 paper stones that I paid for there. One in the Dandy White section, close to the pro shop, and the other one in the Tom Landry section where the players come in for the game. You know those brick pavers? They're not sitting there even anymore. They seem to be a little bit, a little bit off there. You know, the stadium, it's not like FedEx or whatever it is now, Northwest Stadium. Excuse me, not FedEx. It's not run down like that, but it doesn't feel quite as new as it used to. You know what I mean? Now the Star, of course, feels great. But see, this is the thing that the Cowboys have to recognize. And I always remember Jason Garrett saying, it's not the way we do things here. Well, the things that you've done here recently in the last 30 years haven't led to you winning Super Bowls. And this is where the Dallas Cowboys have to understand they have to change and evolve to get a different result. And too many times, we always did the same thing. I'm happy to say that this offseason is a little different than it usually is. This isn't, we're going to hire a new head coach, but we're going to keep some players that are tied to our past. Some former coaches of ours, former players of ours, and things. That we're going to meddle. We're going to pick all the players and things. And the coach, well, he's just going to be our puppet. This is the first time in a very, very long time that they're seeming to be letting football people do football things. Now, that's not to say they don't have enough time to mess it up, because they do. We still got Micah Parsons to deal with. We got the number 2 wide receiver that they're trying to figure out. And we'll see if they get that stuff straightened out. I hope they do. But hopefully the Cowboys are evolving now. So we're not looking at the end of the Dallas Cowboys. Washington, yeah, they've come a long ways. You have to understand where Washington used to be before Dan Snyder. At RFK, they said that the waiting list for season tickets was 100 years long. That people were putting their tickets in their will for people. And in 20-some years, Dan Snyder literally ran that sucker in the ground. Well, they're rising from the ashes. And Cowboys, you better be prepared to be dealing with the Commanders/Redskins. Thank you all very, very much for being part of the Joe Blue Sports Report and being part of my life. I don't know what I would do without you guys. Remember, today's gone. We can never get this day back, and I hope you made the most of it. And remember to tell the people you love how much you love them. You might not get the chance, people, and I love you. I'm going to go to bed. Peace out.